Well, welcome back to the other side. I'm Jared. That's Caley. Thanks for clicking on the right triangle that makes all this stuff go in motion. Caley, I'll say for myself, it's been a pretty surreal week, just in terms of going through another week of quarantine. About a month in now here in the States of self isolation and social distancing, and have really seen the transition of people go from you know how do we cope with this, what's our role, what's our task, to like how we're gonna sustain this for possibly months, even a year to come. So I'm living in my Groundhog Day. I've got my dog behind me most of the time. You see I got a new headset because, hey, we're going to be here a while. So I just wanted to check on you and see how you're doing.
We're in week 3 of what the New Zealand government has called level 4 lockdown. So you're basically just told to stay home unless you're an essential worker or you are needing to get groceries and or visit the doctor. That's basically where New Zealand is at. So very restricted. Doing our best to squash the curve. And things seem to be going fairly well on that project, but obviously, it's tricky times for all of us.
Yep. Tricky times, especially for a lot of college seniors, a lot of high school seniors who are missing out on a lot of, kind of the rite of passage type of events that would naturally be occurring this type of year. And we've actually seen that kind of congruency in the content our customers are making. A lot of the college customers we have in the United States have spent a lot of time talking with their seniors, talking with a lot of their athletes, coaches, fans who haven't left their couches in a while, and see how they're adapting. And one of the misnomers I think that may have come out of a number of maybe high profile people is there's this sense of selfishness that then maybe they can get to play for the championship they didn't want to, or they're missing out on their prom. I saw a viral video of a dad dancing with a little girl at their prom, and it's just bringing back a sense of normalcy. But a lot of the videos that we see being created through Blinder, especially those with senior profiles of athletes at Richmond and Lenore Ryan and Illinois, they're really talking about missing their teammates and missing those normal things of life. So you get a chance, I'll show a couple of clips here over the screen, but get a chance to go to our YouTube page or go to their YouTube pages and some links. They'll be on our social media, and check out how these schools are really uh, putting their athlete engagement back in the spotlight by helping them explain what the college sports model really means to them, and what people are going to be missing through the next 8 months, year down the road, without these people being together on a daily basis, working as a team, learning those lessons, fighting through adversity together, having mentors they can physically be with that, and take those lessons and put them back into your life. Because one of the items I keep reading about is, as sports try to come back, as arts and entertainment try to come back, not just non-essential stuff, but it's going to be a year without people perhaps, and what the media has to do in that year without people, what we all have to do is be more engaging and more innovative in the way we share on social media and where we share in our content we put on display here. And so we're actually going to have a webinar early next week, depending on what time zone, what country you are, Tuesday or Wednesday. Take a look at this registration link I'm going to put up here and come join our webinar. We're going to bring in some attendees from our global network of customers and clients to talk about some of the things they're doing to create for now, as well as in the future, as they prepare to kind of take the replacement of where some events would have. They're going to take replacement for engagement, for publicity, and for some revenue generation. And also next week, we're going to have an interview online with Lenore Ryan's Jeremy Zalaka. They're doing some really innovative things there. One of the senior profiles I talked about, we showed you a play of the week idea last time that they put on content. We'll have an interview with him on early next week as well. And should have as well next week a interview with 3-time WNBA All-Star Danielle Robinson, who's going to talk about the athlete perspective of doing the things she would normally do now to prepare for a season, whether it's enhancing her brand image, getting ready physically, meeting how they hang out with teammates now, and how they're doing that interactively. So Caley, I'll throw it to you now, because when we talked about being surreal in the beginning of this, you've had some really surreal content and really some real life content come through on your side of the world.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. foundations of blinder and where we've got rolling in most countries is in sport, such as the such as yourself, Jared, coming from within that whole NCAA network. But the growth in blinder recently has been very much around the general news media, and there's some really difficult stories clearly that they are covering at the moment. Paddy Gower, one of New Zealand's senior reporters from a very strong political base. Paddy caught up recently with Simone Hannah Clark, a nurse working in New York City, had written a story for the New York Times describing what the experiences she was going through there, and we'll play some of that for you now. But really challenging stuff that Simone was having to deal with, and that Paddy was able to cover in a beautifully pulled together piece.
We see people dying all the time, and that's not a new thing for us, but this is different. This feels different.
We talk about the remote situations we're all working in, and Jared, for you that means a Las Vegas house, and for me that means currently on a farm in South Auckland in New Zealand. But Chaz Doherty in the Te Uruwera forest in New Zealand was one of the most remote in terms of nearest person to him. Interviews we've seen on Te Ao Moana was the show that Chaz featured on. Coming from a solar-powered house in the middle of a forest was magnificent to see. An interview with Kimi Ora, Kaede Melbourne on Moana's show. We're still seeing a lot happening in sport over here. Isolation Nation has been a real flagship piece for Sky Sport, for the Investec Super Rugby teams, and for Blinder, showcasing what we're doing. That has rolled over into another show that Sky are producing, Netball ISO Zone, where they are talking with netball players. Netball's a big sport over here, Jared, and it's not quite basketball without the backboard and the dribbling, but some elements to that. But
yeah,
it's the leading participation sport, I think, full stop, in high schools in New Zealand, or at least was very recently. And the stars of our netball team are a big deal in the country, and Sky have been catching up with a lot of them, including a lady pretty special to me, Kat Tuivaiti, who was in one of the teams that I worked with back when I was working in communications. Kat and her husband Jimmy. Jimmy's a professional rugby player, plays for the Italian national team, and Kat and Jimmy are in an apartment in Italy with a very young baby. And Blinder was able to take the viewers in New Zealand into the life of Kat and Jimmy and what they were going through within their Italian apartment living, and how that was pretty remote as well from the big family base that people enjoyed here. But terrific to see people like Dame Noeline Taurua doing the coach of the world champion Silver Ferns netball team, doing interviews through Blinder. And one of the lovely things they've also done within netball, and Netball New Zealand has been leading this project. A lot of sports, have traditionally been male dominated. Netball is the reverse, where the women are the far and away the biggest stars of the sport. And Netball New Zealand have been getting their leading female players to interview and have conversations with their leading male players. And so that's been a really cool thing to see. And a highlight of that was Amelia Anacanasio talking with Junior Levy, 2 metre tall shooting star of the men's team, talking with the women's player of the year. So there's some lovely stuff that they're doing in those spaces as well. But that's a bit of a summary from this side of the world.
That's great, Caley. Like we said, click on the links and some of the information we'll have after the show to join our webinar. Register for there. We'll also put up some more highlights throughout the week, and check back again for the interviews that are coming up with Jeremy Zalaka and Daniel Robinson. And Caley, I'll see you next week.
Cheers, Jared. See you, buddy.
All right, cheers. See you, buddy.